Hey guys, attorney Marc Victor here. I'm the owner and founder of the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. And today I'm gonna review another one of those programs, but it's the Attorneys on Retainer program. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna review my own program. Look, I think it's only fair. I've been reviewing so many of these other programs. We should do exactly the same kind of critical review of our own program. So let's get to it. First off, I've got the Attorneys on Retainer contract right here, as I just said. And the first thing I want to point out with the Attorneys on Retainer plan is you don't get to pick your own lawyer. That's right, you're stuck with the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. Now look, I'm partial to the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. Given that I founded it 27 years ago, I know exactly what the firm is about. It's really easy to find out about the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. Just go to attorneysforfreedom.com and pretty much everything you want to know about the firm is right there. But also feel free to do your own independent research. Google the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. Check any other source you want. Learn everything there is to know about the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. But if at the end of that, you don't want the Attorneys for Freedom law firm representing you, then don't sign up in the Attorneys on Retainer program. Because that's who you're going to get, the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. Now look, to be fair, as I am with all the other programs, if it's a case that's outside of Arizona, you get to pick the local attorney of your choice. You understand how Attorneys on Retainer works. We get admitted in another state besides Arizona via the pro hoc vice rules, which means we use a local attorney. We hire the local attorney, we pay for the local attorney. Attorneys on Retainer covers the travel expenses, so no problem with any of that. Section 4F, pro hoc vice. Here's what it says. Additionally, as to self-defense legal matters only, the attorney shall be responsible for any pro hoc vice fees as well as all necessary travel expenses. Unless otherwise agreed to by the client, the attorney shall personally handle any trial, substantive evidentiary or suppression hearings, or contested sentencing hearings in any self-defense legal matter. In the attorney's sole discretion, the attorney may opt for any pro hoc vice counsel to personally handle any routine hearings, including arraignment, pretrial conferences, scheduling conferences, case management conferences, status hearings, discovery-related hearings, or stipulated sentencing. But if you have a preference for your local attorney, and you might, right? Maybe you want whoever the very best, pro-freedom, pro-Second Amendment, really hardcore, experienced criminal defense lawyer, because I can tell you that's exactly who we're going to be looking for a local attorney. You get to choose that lawyer as part of the Attorneys on Retainer program in your state. So to be fair, that's how it works. If you don't have a local attorney who you want to select as local counsel, then we'll find that person. We have a team at the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. We call it our strike force. There's other videos about the strike force. But they will then present several attorneys who they have vetted to me. Rest assured, I can tell in about 10 minutes if this local attorney is somebody who we want on our team. Okay, but to be fair, you don't get to select the primary attorney on your case. It's going to be the team of attorneys at the Attorneys for Freedom law firm. You do get to select your local attorney who's going to be admitting us pro hoc vice, filing the motion. So there's one critique of the Attorneys on Retainer program. It's a limitation, if you will. Another aspect of the Attorneys on Retainer program that you might consider a deficiency, it's something that's worth critiquing. Look, you get civil coverage with Attorneys on Retainer. Section 3, subsection I, civil defense representation. The attorney agrees to represent the client in the event client is sued in a civil court of general jurisdiction as a result of any self-defense legal matter. In such an event, the attorney will represent the client in their civil defense themselves, with no additional attorney's fees commencing from the client's initial contact with the attorney informing the attorney of the civil lawsuit through and until either dismissal, settlement, judgment, or verdict in the trial court. Additionally, as to all civil matters resulting from a self-defense legal matter, attorney shall also be responsible for any additional expenses as detailed in this agreement, including any pro hoc vice fees or travel expenses, unless prohibited by the ethics rules in the relevant state. So if it's a self-defense related incident and you get charged with either a felony or a misdemeanor, the Attorneys for Freedom law firm is going to defend you on that criminal side. But if you get sued civilly, the Attorneys for Freedom law firm is also going to represent you in that civil case. That also includes expenses, costs, no problem. It includes the pro hoc vice attorney on the civil side as well. But if it turns out you get a civil judgment against you at the end of that civil case, say you went to trial and you were found liable, in other words, you're responsible, you owe money to whoever sued you, the Attorneys on Retainer program does not cover that civil judgment against you. That's the liability part. As you might want to say, liability insurance. Insurance-based programs do cover that, assuming they don't drop you for any of the other countless exceptions that could apply to your situation. But if they don't drop you and they extend the insurance coverage, many of the other programs also will cover that civil judgment against you. No coverage with the Attorneys on Retainer program for the judgment if you get one against you in a civil case. So I hope that's pretty clear. I think that's kind of a big one, and it's a reason why some people choose, even ones who sign up in the Attorneys on Retainer program, still to keep one of the other insurance-based programs, because if they don't deny coverage, which they could for many reasons, they would then cover that civil judgment against you. Another big one that is not covered with the Attorneys on Retainer program, red flag coverage. What's red flag coverage? All right, this is where somebody has applied for a restraining order against you, sometimes called a temporary restraining order. The way these usually work is somebody rushes into court in what we call an ex parte matter. That means only one side is there, the person who wants the temporary restraining order, and they say, hey, this person out there in the world is a danger to me or somebody else, and I'm worried that they got a firearm. Hey, judge, I'm asking you to do some things. Enter an order that usually will say they shouldn't contact me, they shouldn't come near me, and take their firearms away. Well, if the judge issues that order, usually there'll be an opportunity for a very quick hearing again for the person against whom the order was issued to now come into court and challenge that order. Usually the burden of proof again is on the plaintiff, the person who wants the order, and it's not an ex parte matter now because both sides are there and you can hash it out in court. Well, you may want representation for that hearing if you are the person against whom the order was issued and you're now in danger of losing your firearms. This is not something that the Attorneys on Retainer program covers, at least not right now. There's a pretty good chance we may add that to the Attorneys on Retainer program at some point in the future. But as of the moment of this recording, there is no red flag coverage for Attorneys on Retainer members, and there is coverage in some of the other programs, just to be fair. Again, we are very transparent about our program. We want people to know everything. In fact, if you join the Attorneys on Retainer program, you will be subjected to an excruciatingly long video, over an hour, of me going through every single word of the fee agreement to make sure that you, the person who signs up in Attorneys on Retainer, understands everything about the Attorneys on Retainer program. But my role today is to beat it up a little bit, which is exactly what I'm doing, to be fair and transparent. I'm treating Attorneys on Retainer, my own program, exactly the way I treat the other programs. Fair and balanced, going through the contract and explaining exactly what the pros and cons are. Another limitation of the Attorneys on Retainer program is training. Look, many of the other programs, the insurance-based programs, they have lots of videos and classes and things that you can avail yourself of to learn more about the law of self-defense and what's likely to cause you to have legal problems and not have legal problems. All right, attorneys on retainer, we don't have these kinds of things. To be fair, what Attorneys on Retainer does offer is a periodic newsletter where some of this information will be included in the newsletter, and an annual conference. Attorneys on Retainer members who are clients of the Attorneys for Freedom law firm are invited to attend the annual Attorneys on Retainer conference, where all of the lawyers at the Attorneys for Freedom law firm will be attending and presenting probably 45 minutes to an hour on different topics that are educational and of interest to AOR members. Things like current Supreme Court cases, ones that were just decided, cases that are pending, cases that might be important that are bubbling up through the system, maybe more broader issues like how to deal with the police when you get pulled over, Fourth Amendment issues, which are search and seizure issues, how your rights apply in the Fifth Amendment context and even Sixth Amendment context. And then also we're likely to have a panel where you can ask any hypothetical question you want to ask to me or any of my lawyers. So there is an educational component to the Attorneys on Retainer program, but it's not the same as some of the very, very good resources in some of these other programs. So there's another critique of the Attorneys on Retainer program. I got a few more here. I should also mention, by the way, that the Attorneys on Retainer program has partnered with AZCCW. So you are able to get some training resources and, if you want, an Arizona concealed weapons permit, which has reciprocity with many other states. But other than those things, many of these other programs have excellent training resources. So I think that's a legitimate ding on the Attorneys on Retainer program. Also, trinkets, handouts, bags, things like that, different merch. We don't have much of that stuff. People have been asking about Attorneys on Retainer. Can I get a t-shirt? Can I get a few things? So to be fair, there is an online store coming soon. But we don't have anywhere near the amount of trinkets that some of these other companies have. So if you want trinkets, sign up with one of the other companies. There are some other things that the insurance-based companies offer. Things like electronic monitoring coverage. All right, you get charged with a crime, you're released, you have an electronic monitoring device. There's probably a monthly charge for that device. Attorneys on Retainer does not cover that. Some of these other programs do. If you want that, sign up with the other programs. Also, things like lost wages, right? Imagine you're charged with a crime and you spend some time in jail either before you're released or maybe you don't get released at all and now you've lost your job or something like that. Some of the insurance-based companies, they will replace your lost wages. Again, this is insurance-based stuff, not something available with the Attorneys on Retainer program. If you want reimbursement for lost wages in the event you are charged out of a self-defense related incident, that's not available in Attorneys on Retainer. At the end of the day, say you've had a successful representation and now you want to expunge whatever criminal, maybe arrest record is there, or to restore your rights. Some of the insurance-based programs cover this and afford some money to pay an attorney to do that. This is not part of the Attorneys on Retainer program. No coverage for restoration of rights. Some other companies also will cover you and provide a lawyer if you get mixed up with the TSA and you have some administrative proceeding. How does this happen? We've had several of these at our law firm. Maybe you had a firearm in a bag that you normally carry and you just forgot that you had the firearm when you decided to board a plane and you were going through the TSA line and oops, one of those TSA officers said, "What is this?" And they pull out a firearm and you now are subject to some kind of an administrative proceeding, which is often what happens in these types of cases. No coverage for you if you are an AOR client. Some coverage for you with some of the insurance-based programs. Okay, I'll point out, to be fair, yes, we have a law firm. Yes, we do these cases. Yes, we can represent you, but it's not included as part of the Attorneys on Retainer program, and it is covered with some of these other programs. So if you want coverage for TSA administrative things, that's what you're looking for. AOR is not the program for you. Some of the other programs include maybe a spouse living in the same home or a child living in the same home. The Attorneys on Retainer program doesn't automatically cover other people living under the same roof. The Attorneys on Retainer program does have a family plan, and the way that works is it's essentially for the national plan, $25 a month instead of the normal $35 a month for every person on the family plan. No, they don't have to live in the same home. They do have to be related to you somehow by marriage or blood, and if they are, then they can also add in and join the family plan for $25 a month for each person. So a few differences there. Look, I just want to be very fair and balanced and transparent. Those are the basic things that I think advantage some of the insurance-based programs. So there is my summary of the Attorneys on Retainer program. I think you'll conclude I didn't take it easy on Attorneys on Retainer. I've been a little tough on some of these other programs. I've been critical. I want it to be fair and balanced and very transparent so people know exactly what you get with Attorneys on Retainer and what you don't get with Attorneys on Retainer. If Attorneys on Retainer sounds like a good idea for you want to know who your lawyer is, you want to make sure you're not dropped because of one of these exclusions, you want real, experienced, professional criminal defense lawyers on the case, and you may want to pick your local attorney to get an all-star on the team to work along with us. If that sounds good to you, check out attorneysonretainer.us. You can sign up right there. It's very easy, just a few clicks of the mouse, no problem. If you have questions, give us a call. We get back to everybody within 24 hours. My name is Marc Victor. You can always reach out to me personally. It's just Marc, M-A-R-C, at attorneysforfreedom.com. Thanks for listening.